Everyone in the city thought Zara had married a billionaire. The wedding was broadcast live, the gold lights, the ocean view, the endless luxury. But by the next morning, the man she married had vanished. The bank accounts were empty, and the name he gave her didn't exist anywhere. The world believed Zara was now the richest bride in the country. Only she knew she might have married a complete stranger. And that stranger had left behind a trail that could destroy her life, or save it in a way no one would expect. Zara entered the grand hall wearing a white gown that caught every flash of light. Cameras surrounded her. Reporters whispered about the young billionaire who had finally chosen a bride. People said he owned half the hotels along the coast. The man at the altar called himself Adrian Cole. He was tall, with sharp black eyes and a quiet confidence. He had shown wealth without ever bragging. Private jets, rare cars, the finest wines. The ceremony was smooth and fast. Rings exchanged, music rising, the crowd cheering. Zara's parents smiled wider than she had ever seen. To them, this marriage meant security for generations. Late that night, when the guests were gone, Adrian poured 2 glasses of champagne. He looked at Zara, held her hand, and said only, "Trust me, no matter what happens next." His voice was calm, almost too calm. By morning, he was gone. No note, no call. Only a simple wooden box on the bedside table. Inside lay 3 old copper coins and a small folded map. The morning sun lit the mansion like a spotlight, but everything inside felt cold. Zara searched each room, kitchen, library, the long hallway filled with art. No sign of Adrian. She tried his phone. Disconnected. She called the driver who had brought them from the ceremony. He said Adrian never gave him a number and paid cash. Her parents arrived in panic. Reporters still believed the couple was on a private honeymoon jet. Zara stayed silent. Admitting the truth would bring shame and endless gossip. She checked the map from the box again. It showed a small fishing village 3 hours away. A red X marked the edge of the sea. Beneath the X, in tiny letters, was a single word: begin. Zara left before dawn, wearing plain clothes. She told her parents she needed time alone. The city streets were empty as she drove toward the coast. The highway stretched for miles. With every turn, she wondered if she had married a ghost. Yet something about Adrian's last words, "Trust me," kept her moving forward. At a dusty roadside cafe, she stopped for fuel and tea. The old man behind the counter studied her. "You're heading to the edge," he said. "What edge?" she asked. "The place where people go when they're ready to find what they lost." He refused to explain more. His words made her heart race, but she kept going. The fishing village was quiet, almost too quiet. Boats rocked gently on the gray water. Children watched from doorways, but no one spoke. She followed the map's red X to a narrow path between 2 cliffs. At the end stood a small house made of stone and wood. Smoke rose from its chimney. Inside, an elderly woman with bright eyes waited. "You came for answers," the woman said before Zara could speak. "Do you know Adrian?" The woman nodded slowly. "He calls himself many names. He is not who the world thinks." The woman slid a sealed letter across the table. "You must open this when the sun touches the water. Only then will you see the truth." Zara waited by the cliff until the sky turned orange and the waves glowed like molten glass. When the sun finally touched the water, she opened the letter. It was Adrian's handwriting. "Zara," it began, "if you are reading this, you chose courage over comfort. Follow the trail of 3 truths: the place of hunger, the field of storms, and the house of mirrors. At the end waits the reason I vanished. and the life you were meant for. No signature, no explanation. Just those words and a second map drawn on the back. Zara's heart pounded. She had no idea where these places were. But the letter felt like a challenge she couldn't ignore. The first mark on the new map led to a dry plain 2 hours north. The soil was cracked, the air heavy with heat. At the center stood a group of children sitting silently beside empty bowls. A thin man approached, his clothes worn and dusty. "We have no food," he said, "but we wait for someone who promised to return." Zara looked closer and saw a familiar pattern carved into a wooden post. The same pattern engraved on her wedding ring. She reached into her bag, pulled out everything she had, water, bread, fruit, and shared it. The children ate quickly, but with quiet gratitude. As they finished, the thin man handed her a small wooden key. He said you would know what to do with this. The second mark pointed west. As Zara drove, clouds thickened and the wind howled. Soon she reached a wide field where lightning flashed across the sky. In the center of the field stood a single tree, its trunk blackened by past strikes. At its base lay a metal box. When she opened it, she found a second key, silver this time, and a note. Strength is proven in the storm, not the sunshine. Rain soaked her clothes. The wind nearly knocked her down, but she held the key tight. Something inside told her she was closer to the truth. The last mark on the map led Zara back toward the city, to an abandoned estate she had never seen before. Dust covered the gates, but the front door was unlocked. Inside, every wall was lined with mirrors. Some tall and cracked, others polished so bright they reflected her every breath. As she walked through the silent rooms, her own reflection seemed to follow her like another person. In the final room, a single candle burned beside a third key, this one of gold. Underneath it lay a short note. "Look closer." She stared at her own reflection. For a brief second, she thought she saw Adrian standing behind her, but when she turned, the room was empty. Behind one of the mirrors, she noticed a faint outline, a hidden door. She pressed the edge and it swung open to a narrow stairway leading underground. The air was cool and smelled of earth. At the end of the stairway was a heavy wooden door with 3 locks. The copper, silver, and gold keys fit perfectly. As the last lock clicked open, the door creaked wide. Candlelight revealed a small chamber filled with boxes of documents, old photographs, and bundles of cash. On the far wall, a single message was painted in black letters: "Truth waits and love is tested." A soft sound echoed behind her. Footsteps. Zara turned, heart racing. Adrian stood there, wearing plain clothes and no sign of wealth. His hair was damp from rain, his face calm. "You found it," he said quietly. Zara's anger boiled. "Who are you really? Why all of this?" He stepped forward. "I am not a billionaire. I was once wealthy, yes, but I gave it up to see if anyone could love me without it. I needed to know if trust and kindness still matter more than money." He explained that the children, the storm, and the mirrors were his test. "You shared what you had. You faced danger. You searched for truth. That is the heart I was looking for." Adrian led Zara deeper into the chamber, where a single wooden chest stood in the center. Inside were deeds to properties, charitable trust papers, and a sealed envelope with her name. "I built great wealth years ago," he said. "But I saw how money blinded people. Friends, family, even strangers. I sold everything and disguised myself as different men. I wanted to find someone whose heart was stronger than greed." Zara opened the envelope. It was a legal document transferring all remaining assets and lands to her name. enough to rebuild entire villages. Her voice trembled. Why me? Because you chose compassion before comfort, he answered. Adrian stepped back. The wealth is now yours, but only if you want it. You can walk away and no one will know this place exists. Or you can take it and use it for others. The decision is yours alone. Zara thought of her parents' dreams of status, the hungry children on the plain, the storms she had crossed. Quietly, she said, if I keep it, it will not be for me. It will be for those children. For anyone who suffers like they did, Adrian's eyes softened. That is the answer I prayed for. Weeks later, the fishing village was alive with work. New boats, fresh food, and a small school rose near the water. Zara visited often, investing the hidden fortune into clean wells and safe homes. The children who once waited in silence now laughed openly. The thin man who had given her the first key helped lead the rebuilding. Adrian stayed by her side, never asking for recognition. Together, they created a fund for families in need, never attaching their names. One morning, Zara received a letter with no signature. The final test is yours alone. True wealth is measured by what you give when no one is watching. She turned to show Adrian, but he was gone. His clothes, his small belongings, everything disappeared as if he had never existed. Only a simple copper coin remained on her desk, the same as the one she found on her wedding night. Zara never saw Adrian again. Some whispered he had been a wealthy traveler. Others believed he was a messenger from God. She didn't search for him. Instead, she kept serving the people who once had nothing. Her own name became a quiet legend across the coast, though she never claimed fame. She learned the truth Adrian had tried to teach. Love is proven not by riches, but by the choices you make when no one rewards you. And that was the ending no one expected, an ending where the richest bride chose a life that wealth could never buy. Moral of the story: true value lies in kindness and sacrifice, not in titles or money. Real love tests the heart, not the wallet.